Welcome back to the Boneyard podcast, everybody. This is your host, Jared Shaffett, along with my good friend.
Artemis Brower.
We're coming to you this week with episode 209. 209.
209.
We were talking pre-show. Nine's a chalk number, Artie.
It is. Very much so.
It's a chalk number. We're gonna get into that here in a second. But how you been, man?
I've been good. I've been all right, man. Life is lifing right now, but we're good, man. We're good. We can't complain. We're breathing. We're alive. We're here. We're fully into the football season. We're coming off a blowout victory, so you cannot complain when ECU is coming off a blowout victory. So,
for sure, yeah. The grass looks a little greener. The sky looks a little bluer, and it feels right when ECU comes off a blowout victory like that. It
does.
If something felt different about ECU on Saturday, and we're going to get into that. But Artie, real quick, just want to give a shout out to the College Huddle. We're having our friends at the ODU Monarchist on the podcast tonight to preview Old Dominion ECU. So check out them. Go follow them before Saturday. We helped them write an article on their website, so they're gonna come on the podcast and help us out here tonight. But that's the point of the College Huddle, right? And also we're putting together the College Huddle top 25 poll. So stay tuned on that. That'll be coming out later this week ahead of this weekend's games. Artie, number 9. You said you had chalk, right? I have chalk. Josh, if you have chalk, come on in. Artie, who's your number 9?
Well, first and foremost, this is an East Carolina podcast, all right? So I'd be remiss if I didn't at least say this name because he wore number 9. He played quarterback at East Carolina. He was also an NFL quarterback for quite some time. Had a pretty decent career. Not a great career, but pretty decent career. That's one David Garrard. I mean, that's you have to say that name if you got an East Carolina podcast and you're saying number 9. You got to say David Garrard. One of the forgotten big names, I think, to come out of ECU. David Garrard doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion.
I would argue. I think the old heads, for the most part, talk about David Garrard.
Yeah.
Some of the younger alumni, some of the younger fans,
right,
may not be too familiar with David Garrard's work. But no, I mean, Pirate legend, and had a pretty good NFL career. So one could make the argument one of the better NFL careers.
I was about to say I think he's at least a top 5 Pirate. I mean, he had an 12-year NFL career, played for the Jacksonville Jaguars for 9 years, was a starter there for a long time. I think went to an AFC Championship game. Maybe I could be wrong there, but I know he made a few playoff appearances and went pretty deep. David Garrard had a pretty good career. Grew up in Durham, North Carolina, with the Southern out there in Durham, so he's a North Carolina guy. But that would be my number 9. The other chalk name that I would have, just one of my all-time, 2 of my all-time favorite quarterbacks outside of David Garrard, Drew Brees and Steve McNair. Those are the other 2 that I gotta say it. Drew Brees was he did it for the shorties. I can't not celebrate a guy like Drew Brees, who's a short man who looked in the face of giants and said, "I'm still gonna be the best at what I do," and he was. And then obviously Steve McNair was an absolute legend out of Alcorn State. Tragically passed away too soon. We all know what happened there. Saw his documentary. It was a very good documentary a few weeks ago. But those would be my 9s for the week. But obviously David Garrard, first and foremost.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good one.
That's a pretty good one. That's
Josh?
pretty good one. My number 9 is a little out there, but it's going to be the number 9 team in the country, Missouri. Okay.
Mizzou.
And I'm thinking Missouri right now for Jake Garcia. And I'm just going to leave it there. I'll let the rest of the show handle it, but
I see
that's what I'll say. I'll use that number 9 to thank the number 9 team in the country of Missouri.
Love it.
All right. Well, y'all's are both better than mine. So
Go ahead,
I'm going with arguably the greatest hockey player ever born in the United States. None other than Mike Modano. I mean, number 9. Number 9, I was just looking, like, in baseball and hockey, a lot of greats wore that number, right? You talk about Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, Mike Modano, Gordie Howe, Bobby Hull, lots of greats, really. But Mike Modano is, an American Hall of Famer, one-time Stanley Cup winner. Only made one All-Star game, which is kind of interesting to me. Was on the 89-90 All-Rookie team. Just under 1,500 games. Artie, he had 1,499 games. You can't play in one more game to get that round number, that 1,500.
Yeah, you got to get to 1,500, man. You cannot wake up every day saying I played 1,499. It's got to end on 1,500. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So
that's like having 2,999 hits. Like, you got to get to 3,000. You got to find a way.
Exactly. Yeah. 561 goals, 813 assists for 1,374 points. I mean, all in all, I believe he was the captain of Team America for a while. I mean, I don't know. As a hockey fan growing up and a kid in America before the sport really kind of blew up here, he's one of the, like I said, he's one of the guys that paved the way for all the great Americans now. And I would be hard pressed to say Jack Eichel, Clayton Keller, they wear number 9. And my guess is because Mike Modano. So, all right, let's get into it. Just some quick ECU notes before we recap ECU Norfolk State. Shout out women's soccer starting 3-0-2 on the year. Kylie Alvarez was just named American Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Also, volleyball has started 3-0. Oh yeah, Player of the Week. Good catch. Hey, this is a daddy-daughter week. My wife's out of town, so bear with me, guys.
Hold on.
We might be in for
upstairs watching Scarlett right now. Who's watching my goddaughter?
My mom is here.
Okay.
Watching the monitor, but like it solely falls on dad, for the most part. Okay. And then also we started preschool today. So lots going on here in the Shaffer household. It's been a big day.
Love it.
Here in the Shaffer household. Wife left for work for the next week. This morning. So a lot going on here. So bear with me. This may be a fun podcast to listen to and watch. Dad's running on little to no sleep and stressed out of his mind. So we do what we got to do. All right. Volleyball. ECU starts 3-0. Junior outside hitter Angeles Alderette. I'll have to text Izzy to make sure I'm pronouncing that shit right. Named the 2024 American Athletic Conference preseason Player of the Year. They'll host A&T, North Carolina A&T, I should say, on Thursday at 7 to kick off the Pirate Invitational. We'll also play Texas A&M Commerce on Friday and Western Carolina on Saturday. Women's soccer will also host Western Carolina on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And then we just gave Izzy a shout out, former Boneyard podcast intern. Hope she's feeling better. I saw she broke her foot during warm-ups.
What's up, Izzy?
Yeah, T's and P's. All right. Let's get into it. Week 1. Artie, the tweet that I had lined up to fire out after the game went final, but decided to delete, was ECU comes from behind, scoring 48 unanswered points to beat Norfolk State 48-3. I was so close to putting that out there.
Well, we won 42-3.
42, whatever. The number, it was a lot to a little.
A lot to a little. You're right.
Anyways, let's talk about the play. I know there was question marks about, hey, we turned the ball over 6 times, 3 interceptions in the first half. Like, I know people were a little on edge. How were you feeling going into halftime after watching that that first half?
I will chalk it up to this. Knowing how we did the rest of the game, being able to score a bunch of points, being able to score very quickly, being able to find the rhythm. I'm just going to chalk it up to first game jitters, first game whatever, first game got to get it out your system. Obviously, 6 turnovers in a game. You can't even have 3 turnovers in a game and expect to win a lot of games. You just can't do that. So we got away with it because we were playing an FCS opponent, because we were playing a much weaker opponent, just to be completely honest with you. But 6 turnovers against Old Dominion is RIP. 6 turnovers against Liberty or App State is RIP. You can forget it. It won't be that close. So it's definitely something that we have to fix like today, not in the near future, not in a couple of weeks. Something's got to get nipped in the bud right now. Obviously, Garcia throwing the 3 interceptions. You don't want to see that, but he also threw 4 touchdowns. So I'm not gonna, harp on the guys that much. 6 turnovers is a lot. It's absurd. But I'm just gonna chalk it up to kind of first game sloppiness, getting ready for the season, getting prepared. But the fact that we were still able to score the way we scored and move the ball at will. 31 first downs is absolutely absurd. With 6 turnovers, I'm not gonna harp on it too much.
And peep the time of possession on that. Like
they had time of possession by 13 minutes.
Yeah, it was ECU scored fast and played fast, just like they were as advertised. And I think Jake Garcia, he talked about it post game, right? Like, hey, like there was a lot of first game jitters. Like, yeah, it was really kind of like crazy going into that atmosphere, not really knowing what to expect. And then, he threw the interception on the first drive, and really,
and I will be honest, on that first drive, and he threw the interception, I was like,
oh shit, here we go
again.
I think a lot of us felt the same way. And Artie, I'll say this: out of those 3 interceptions in the first half, that was the only one that I was like, that was a bad throw.
The second one, Casey Kelly did fall down.
Casey Kelly fell.
Yeah.
And then the third one was a 50-50 ball at the goal line. And sometimes you come down with those, sometimes you don't. I like the fact that we were throwing it downfield. So out of those 3, the only one that I was like really concerned about was that first one. It looked like he misread the coverage. Yep. Linebacker dropped back a little bit. Hey, picked him off. And that was the only time that Norfolk State had any momentum. They got the 3 points off of that. I believe their drive went like 35 yards.
Mm-hmm.
The ECU defense was suffocating,
as advertised,
and it should be, right. And when you're playing an opponent like Norfolk State, right, it should be suffocating. You know what they're going to do. They're going to try to win the run game, right? They didn't do that. And I believe at one point I looked at it was like they had 45 rushes for like 43 yards. An absolutely insane stat.
Right.
Right. And ECU's D-line, like we've said all year long or all off season, is going to be the strength of this team. At one point I thought to myself, like, there's no way they're going to really be able to run up the middle on us at all tonight.
Right.
And for the most part, that was true. That held true, and they got. I don't know what the total numbers were on sacks. I don't have it pulled up right here in front of me, but they got to the quarterback, right, and it was it was kind of like what we've seen in the past, where maybe you're not getting to him to get the like stat sack,
but you're getting the pressures.
But you're getting the pressures, right? And you're putting body on body, and to me, that's just as good as a sack. You're making him go through his progressions a little bit quicker. They looked, like you said, as good as advertised. I don't know. I felt really good leaving Dowdy Ficklen Stadium on Saturday, especially after seeing a lot of other teams, like the one in Raleigh, struggle with an FCS opponent.
Yeah. Now they pulled it together in the fourth quarter, but that was definitely looking bleak for a solid 3 quarters. I mean, the Catamounts came to play that day.
Liberty was Liberty trailing at the half or tied at the half with Campbell. I mean, it wasn't a blowout weekend for the FBS teams that were playing FCS opponents, but ECU made it into that for their game, and they took care of business.
Yeah, I mean, we
go ahead.
No, I was going to say we did exactly what we needed to do, right? Week 1, FCS opponent, Norfolk State coming in. We did and played exactly how we needed to play. So,
Josh, I wanted to get your take on the game.
Yeah, I mean, being on the field, it definitely was a different atmosphere just from start to finish around the players, around the rest of the media on the field. It was really different. Keeping up with ECU's offense this year is going to be extremely difficult for those of us who are looking through the camera. It was definitely one of those things where, like, trying to record clips, sometimes I just had to let it run for half of a drive because I couldn't stop my clip in time to start the next one. And, it was a lot. ECU's defense was wildly entertaining against this FCS offense. I really hope that when we play Old Dominion and when we play Appalachian State, that we can continue that type of defensive effort. But I mean, there were many times where the defensive players were just childishly happy with their performance.
I get that sense from both sides of the ball too, though. I feel like both sides of the ball are more confident than I've ever seen them. At least not in the 5 years that we've now been covering ECU. It seems like every player on both sides of the ball has some kind of swagger. And there's times where I didn't feel that way.
Do they look like they're having fun? Like that's the most important thing, because there was plenty of times last year where nobody was having fun for obvious reasons. But do they look like they're just out there having fun playing football? So,
yeah. And I mean, shout out to Desiree Riles. I mean, that guy looked like he had the time of his life on Saturday. And that's what, I mean, I think, are we all in agreement? Is he the bad to the bone player of the week this week?
That's what the poll said.
That's what the poll said. That's how I feel. Artie, Josh, give your votes. And then
look, this could have gone to a few different players. It could have gone to Anthony Smith, obviously Riles. My personal vote was for Gavin Gibson, simply because I am a defensive guy, and I think he just had an incredible game. Plus the pick six, to me, that just broke open the game. I think once that pick six happened, it was kind of like, okay, we're probably going to blow this wide open. Like, this game's probably going to be a blowout. We can breathe a little bit. We're good. I feel like that was the play that really turned it into the blowout that it became. That would have been my bad to the bone player of the week, but I am not upset with Riles in the slice.
Yeah, if we did one for both sides of the ball, I mean, Gavin Gibson, Zakai Barker, really, both of those guys at stellar games. I would say Gavin Gibson was kind of the standout. I mean, just not only having 6 tackles, but the pick 6. I don't know. Riles just got me fired up, scoring his first touchdown. Had to go to review, and then seeing his celebrations, like it just I don't know. That's why I lean there. But I like the picks. I like the picks. Yeah. Anything else? I know we haven't spent too much time on it, but want to give a shout out. I mean, really, all the production came from transfers for the most part, right? Anthony Smith, Casey Kelly, Jake Garcia, just all in all,
instant impact.
And I mean, even on the defensive side of the ball, looking at like Raheem Craig, right? Dude balled out. Just overall, a great night to be a Pirate. And I left in hearing people talk. A lot of people were really pleased with what they saw in Dowdy Ficklin on Saturday night.
Yep. I just want to throw one question in there to you guys. What do you think about the current situation at running back? Do you feel like it is a situation?
It might be a situation. Yeah, it definitely might be a situation at RB.
Do you think that Old Dominion will be a litmus test for how that situation plays out? Because honestly, you go against this ODU defensive line, and then next you got App State, and then you got Liberty, and then after that, you got to have your rotation. Like you got to have it set.
It's going to show itself. It's definitely going to show itself. Separation is going to start this week. It has to.
The running game never got started, and I think part of that was not knowing who was going to be your first and second down back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a competition that I don't think, like, we all knew it was a competition, but I don't think we all knew the type of competition that it is now. Right. And I mean, Javius Bond, he's electric. Raj is the veteran leader. But in my humble opinion, I noticed Javius Bond a whole hell of a lot more Saturday night than I did Rajay. I don't know if y'all felt the same way. And then Marlon Gunn, right? Like, can somebody does he have a touchdown yet? I don't believe so.
Well, I'll say this about Marlon. He was in a vehicular accident like less than a week before the game, I'm pretty sure. Or like 2 weeks before the game. Like I'm not sure what's behind the scenes on that one, but
Josh coming in with the
we were talking about that on the sideline about some of the players that weren't really, that either were out or didn't really play as well as we anticipated. But yeah, I think there might be a little something on that one.
And that's a good point. Chase Sowell.
Yeah, he didn't even play. I mean, that's
I saw Chase Sowell out on the field in warmups, and I was like, yo. He's missing a lot of equipment.
Ruined my G5 fantasy. He was my starting wide receiver. Ruined it.
Well, I got good news for you, Josh. He will be back this weekend from what I'm hearing. I mean, he's out of the soft cast. It was a broken hand. He's going to be back. The Pirates' number one wide receiver.
Kind of need your hands as a receiver.
Is going to be back. So
kind of just a little bit.
And then one other call out I wanted to make. I think so. 6 turnovers. We agree. Going back to that, we agree is bad. The center play from the offensive line perspective, did it seem like every snap was over Jake Garcia's head on Saturday, or am I just?
As a former center, I will say this. I'm not sure where the miscommunication was, but I did not see less than 50% of the snaps were clean in the box snaps, in my opinion.
If I'm Coach Maddox this week, I am drilling that.
You're drilling that 24/7.
ECU probably. I mean, people were talking about Jake Garcia not being able to go through his reads in the first half. Half of that was because he couldn't He only had one read to make because the ball was over his head. So
or too low, too far to the right, too far to the. It was just too inconsistent for it to be someone at the position who has experience.
Right.
I couldn't tell from the press box. Was it Dustin Hall?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was, but it's got to be fixed. It's got to be fixed, but that's easily correctable, in my opinion. But anything else on ECU's drubbing of Norfolk State? Not.
One.
Let's move on to week 2. Wash it away. Week 1. That's in the past, and we've said all off season that this kind of 4-week stretch that we're entering in is going to be a big test for East Carolina University when it comes to the gridiron. And that test starts this week with a road trip up to Norfolk to play our former opponents' neighbors in Old Dominion. And this is going to be a tough matchup. And we said this, what, 2 weeks ago? Like, do not sleep on this matchup.
On the Monarchs.
Because I was keeping an eye on this game between ODU and South Carolina. And I was like, uh-oh, next week is going to be a little tougher than maybe some ECU fans were thinking. And I feel like that's the general sentiment around Pirate Nation right now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Like they had South Carolina on the ropes. It reminded me a lot of that game that we went to, Artie, back in, what was that, 2016, where ECU loses by 5 at South Carolina. And
in a game that could have very easily gone the other way.
And I remember going to 5 points that night and every South Carolina fan telling me, y'all should have beat. That's the worst thing you can hear as a fan. When you play an opponent that nobody expected you to beat, and all those fans are saying, y'all should have beat us. Y'all are the better team. I mean, it was 2 picks close to their own end that ultimately led to the demise of Old Dominion. But Artie, let's stop talking about the 2 of us. Let's bring in our friends at the ODU Monarchist. What's up, guys? Aaron, Gary, how y'all doing?
Good. How are y'all doing?
What's shaking, y'all?
What's shaking? We're sitting here just looking forward to this week. I mean, it's one of those matchups that we were talking about it here recently. Like, ODU doesn't feel like a rival, but I feel like we play all enough where it's one of those friendly rivalries right now.
I feel like we have to beat you at least once before we can start calling it a rivalry. We're yet to do that. So maybe after Saturday, I would love to see it grow into one because obviously the fan bases are close together. I think both teams travel well to each other's venues. So it would be nice to have someone other than JMU wearing purple that we don't like very much.
Facts. We don't like JMU that much either, but we're glad they beat Charlotte this past weekend. Yes. Guys, I mean, tell us a little bit about what happened. I mean, obviously y'all's game was going on at the same time our game was going on, so our eyes weren't fully on your game. But what's the general consensus of what happened in Columbia over this past weekend?
I mean, I would say with the exception of a handful of plays, let's just say 5 plays, the game could have turned out very differently. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had, I would say, 3 turnovers that didn't really need to happen or that were super pivotal. One was at the end of the game. We were trying to drive and make something happen, but 2 fumbles within the 10-yard line led to 2 easy touchdowns for South Carolina. That was really their production. And then after we had a big turnover, a big forced fumble, and quite a long run back, we had an interception in the end zone. So you take those few plays away, and it could look very, very differently.
That sounds very familiar, and you're not going to like to hear this. That sounds very familiar to the last 4 or 5 seasons of ECU football. Take these 3 or 4 plays away, and the game goes a whole lot differently.
Yeah, you were talking about before we came on how the other fan base was telling you all were the better team and you should have won. We essentially got that same treatment coming out of Williams-Brice on Saturday. I mean, South Carolina only scored 2 touchdowns, and one was we fumbled. They started a drive on our 3, and the other one was they started on our 7 after another fumble. So that's all of their offensive production in terms of touchdowns right there. One was like the first drive of the game right up against the student section. Other one was in the fourth quarter. And then, yeah, first and goal from the 10 after we turned them over, had a nice return. Throw an interception, first play, just telegraphed it. So, like, we're happy because we thought, 21.5-point spread, that this game would not be competitive. We were leading by a field goal in the fourth quarter. So, like, I'm happy for that, but I'm so mad that was like one of those program-defining wins that you could have had down there in the SEC, been our first power conference road win too. So I think I'm more bitter than I am happy that we kept it close because South Carolina, they're in trouble on offense. Like, we're playing a better offense Saturday than we did last Saturday.
You guys take the tough loss, in Williams-Brice this past Saturday. But even with that, I mean, I feel like the expectations are probably still kind of high for this season for Old Dominion. So what would you guys say are the realistic expectations in the Sun Belt, in that conference, to really push, the heavy hitters at the top?
Yeah, I'll share what I've shared in our podcast. I think this team is a 7-win team this year during the regular season. The schedule is daunting. So that quite possibly could be the best team that we've had in a very, very long time and only win 7. However, if the team plays the way it is capable, it could certainly win more games than that, and it's a real contender in the Sun Belt to win the conference championship. That's my take on it. If the defense continues to play the way that it played, and the offense puts things together in the way that we saw them in practice in the preseason, and some things that they're capable of doing, there's a very high ceiling. That being said, it's a very difficult schedule.
Yeah, and the thing that stands out to me on defense for ODU was kind of that defensive line. It feels like they're pretty stacked there. Or what are they doing? Are they doing anything differently than just being big and filling the gaps?
We ran a lot of 3-2-6 against South Carolina. So the defensive line did a good job of occupying their blocks and filling in gaps. South Carolina was essentially running like a power spread options. They weren't really throwing the ball. They were trying to use that SEC size and strength to bully us down the field. And they had some success in the run game. But our defensive line really just held their ground, and they were able to shake kind of a lot of double team blocks that they were not able to use last year. But the real strength of the defense is in the linebacker core. We've got 5 guys that we can rotate in there without any big fall off. I mean, All-American Jason Henderson only played about 50% of the snaps. He's coming off the ACL injury at the end of last season. I think he finished with 3 tackles, and it's the first time I've watched an ODU defense in a couple of years where Jason Henderson isn't obvious. There were a lot of other guys stepping up. So I think it's a mix of the defensive line just holding their own more than they did last year and being really creative with blitzes from the linebacker core and also from the secondary just to disrupt things. But they were the most disciplined I've ever seen them on Saturday. Because a lot of times that option, if you aren't disciplined, you're going to get cooked all day long. They were really able to maintain gap control, stretch things out, and just play hell for the guy who's supposed to be Cam Newton 2.0 down there.
Yeah. And I mean, this Saturday upcoming, ECU is definitely going to try to run a very fast-paced, up-tempo offense, kind of on the ball at all times. How do you think that ODU defense is going to adjust to the kind of tempo that we're going to try to play on offense?
I mean, our offense tries to play tempo, or I wouldn't even say tries, plays tempo all the time too. So they're very used to seeing that in practice. Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to see how these offenses play. I mean, are they efficient and can they keep drives going? Or there are lots of 3 and outs. If there are lots of 3 and outs, there might be 70 freaking drives. We over the last season, the time of possession has been very skewed in the favor of the opponent, with our defenses being on the field quite a bit. This past game was really not much different, even though we had more yardage than them. What was it, Gary? I think they had the ball maybe 35 minutes of the game or something like that.
It was almost identical to ECU's time of possession.
Yeah.
So it's like someone's got to win that battle on Saturday. I'm curious who it's going to be, because I don't think either offense wants to hold the ball for very long.
Yeah. So our defense is certainly capable of doing that. I think for us the key is to be able to extend offensive drives and not be a 3 and out, routinely type of deal. We talked about in our podcast before that we were hoping that we would see more short and intermediate type passing. We didn't see a whole heck of a lot of that down in South Carolina. But the team is certainly capable of doing that. Last year it was lots of, long throws and runs, and those throws were boom or bust. And when they worked great. But when they didn't, our defense was on the field pretty quickly. And, we've got to be better at having some more extended drives.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at it, Grant Wilson, 22 for 38, 197 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, sacked 5 times. Is that a concern, or do you kind of chalk that up to playing in an SEC defense?
Well, we led the country last year in sacks allowed. So it's definitely been a big concern for us. I do think there's been a lot of improvement on the offensive line. Zach Barlev at left guard came in from Illinois. Got a couple other guys who have just kind of stepped up and gotten bigger. So the offensive line, despite giving up 5 sacks, actually played pretty well. South Carolina's defense is everything you'd expect from an SEC defense. Like, they are big, they are fast, they're smart. They will keep them in games this year. They had 2 edge rushers. Kyle Kennard is one, transfer from Georgia Tech. The kid is a monster. A lot of the sacks they had were actually them using their athleticism to just beat around the tackle and get into the pocket. Like, there's some good highlight clips of that online. The guy that's on the other side, their other edge, is a true freshman, and he's basically an NFL pick right now. Like, he's so fast. So they were getting a lot of pressure on the outside there.
I saw that. I saw the highlight clip of that guy from South. He was pancaking offensive linemen like with ease, throwing them into the quarterback. So you probably won't see that, but you're gonna see still a pretty stout defensive front seven in ECU. Does that give you any concern, knowing that's kind of been the bread and butter of ECU's team over the past 3 years?
Yeah, it's a big concern for us. Like, it's hard to get a true gauge of if our offensive line has improved because it was an SEC opponent. They have those 2 studs, but it killed our offense last year. We were struggling to even get to the mesh point on a handoff before there were guys in the backfield. So we're definitely concerned about what the front seven can bring to the table for ECU. How do we create time and space for Grant Wilson to do his thing and go through his progressions in the backfield? I know one thing that we will absolutely do is you're going to put a defense out there on first down, and they're not going to be able to get off the field until there's some kind of incompletion or penalty. We will be going right back to the line of scrimmage after a play and either snapping it or holding everyone there on the field. So I think the mindset there is to try and trap the wrong guys on the field, get them gas, force you use a timeout, something like that. Almost like you see in basketball. We did that a couple of times last year. But yeah, I think my biggest concern on the offense, ODU's offense versus ECU defense, is if ECU is able to get a lot of pressure, our offense is going to be stuck in the mud. And I don't think that your offense is going to be, based on the studs that you have on the offensive side coming in this year. And you turned it over 6 times against Norfolk State and still won 42-3. Like, that's not bad.
Well, that I know this is y'all's podcast. I feel like I'm not supposed to be the one asking the questions, but I was going to turn that around and ask you guys about that, the turnovers. What are your concerns about that with the defense that you've seen from Old Dominion?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit earlier. There was a couple in there that, to me, we talked about the 3 interceptions really in the first half. The first one, first drive of the season, I think it was the first third down, like it was the 3rd play of the season, and Jake Garcia misread the coverage. Linebacker dropped back and picked him off. Ball was thrown a little too low. Probably should have lofted it over him a little bit more. Bad throw. Hey, chalk it up to jitters. That's okay. And that's Norfolk State took 3 points off of that, and those were the only 3 points they got all night. But then we talked about the other 2 interceptions, and they one was both of them were at the goal line. So thankfully, when Norfolk State intercepted it, they were stuck at the goal line and had to go against our defensive line, and so it played out okay. The second interception, our tight end slipped and fell, tripped, something, lost his footing. Otherwise, it's a 50-50 ball. Still probably shouldn't have been thrown into double coverage, right? The third one, another 50-50 ball that was thrown to the goal line, and the DB came down with it. And that's going to happen, especially when you're trying to air it out and prove that, hey, we're gonna throw all over you if you're going to let us. And after that, Jake Garcia kind of settled in and got composure. Later on in the game, in the second half, some wacky stuff happened. Right, you're gonna see 6 turnovers. Kane Hauser came in his first drive, garbage time, transferred from Michigan State. His first attempt to pass the ball, it looked like to me it was a pass. They didn't even review it, but it looked like his arm was coming forward. Dropped the ball. They jumped on it. Okay, so be it. There was another play where it was a poison kick. It was a punt to 27 yards, and it hit a defender, and they recovered it. That was considered a fumble. And then lastly, they tried to run some kind of option play or some kind of I don't know, trick play, and the snap hit our tight end as he was running in motion. So you see six turnovers. I'm not as concerned. All things that can be very easily correctable going into week 2.
You also just have a whole lot of new on that offensive side of the ball too. So week 1, yeah, and I think that's maybe true for some of our turnovers as well. We had ended up with 4, 2 fumbles, 2 picks. The last pick was kind of just trying to get the ball down the field on the last drive. But yeah, I mean, I put some stock in week 1, but you just see sometimes totally different teams come out in week 2. You're going to see teams that overperform come back and regress. You're going to see things that were just a nightmare disaster get better, unless you're Florida State. That's the only exception.
That's what I was about to say.
God, they can't throw the football down the field. It's terrible.
Yeah. The memes have been fantastic.
Yes, they
Florida
have.
State, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah.
I'm all here for the demise of Florida State. Also, Clemson. I'm here for that one too.
Yeah, that was an ugly one we watched while tailgating on Saturday. That was rough times for the ACC.
Speaking of tailgating, I mean, what's the scene like up there in Norfolk?
Oh, now you're talking our language. Oh, I mean, Gary, you don't need to mute yourself. I think we could both be on this at the same time. It's great. We're fortunately we've got an awesome crew, and we have I don't know, is it 8 spots? I think 8 spots that we have together. So we've got a fairly large tailgate in the parking lot across the street. Have you guys been up to Norfolk for a game before?
I've not.
All right, so you've got the stadium is on the one side of a divided kind of 4-lane road, so 2 lanes each way, and on the other side of the road is a large parking lot. Is one of the tailgating lots. We're right there, so it's like a 3-minute walk to the stadium. So it's really it's really great. One of the things that we really take pride in with the podcast, and Mike, who's not on here, is reaching out to folks at Old Dominion and even folks that are coming into town. If you don't have a place to sit down and share a beer with somebody, you can come by and you can share one with us. So we really try to be open and inviting, and we hope to get those kind of experiences when we go. At South Carolina, everybody was really nice. So it was great. Some places are not like that, but we try to do that. But the tailgating is pretty awesome. I mean, we've got a number of surface lots where people can tailgate. They have to be members of the Old Dominion Athletic Foundation. There aren't single game tailgating opportunities to pay for those things. But there is a large tailgate in the kind of in the middle of campus, which may be a 6 or 7 minute walk from the stadium on Kaufman Mall. So if there's East Carolina fans who are coming and, they don't want to haul a bunch of stuff, but they want to get a kind of a tailgating experience, they can go to Kaufman Mall and, there's food and drink and music and different sorts of things there. Or they could just walk through the lots. And, there's a lot of Old Dominion fans who really, really are welcoming. We're in the blue lot kind of towards the back corner. So they can always come find us and say hi if they want. Gary's quite the tailgating extraordinaire and oftentimes is cooking good stuff. So I'm going to shut up and let Gary talk a little bit.
Yeah. Now, if you walk around, there's plenty of places you can pop into. I imagine there will be a lot of East Carolina fans that find their way to have a parking pass in one of those lots one way or another. So I'm sure you see all the big flags up. Kaufman Mall's a good backup. They got some beer gardens, food, stuff like that. A lot of like band activities, team walkthrough. So a lot of good spots. And then actually the night before, that Friday night, our group is hosting our first like pep rally that we're doing. It's kind of in conjunction with our NIL collective and Afterglow Brewing. It's a couple miles down the road from the stadium, but good gathering point. So I jokingly said on our podcast, it'd be terrible if ECU fans showed up and drank all the beer at our partner brewery place. Then, of course, as I think one of our fans in the chat said, and Headlights is the other location you can go to if you're an East Carolina fan for the official tailgate.
Shout out to Garrick.
Now, Gary, what are we cooking? I gotta know. Since Aaron said you're on the grill, what are we throwing on the grill?
This week it's actually gonna be mostly pre-prepared food. So we're gonna have some chicken, some barbecue, some stuff like that. We'll have some sandwiches. The weird kickoff time and tailgate times. It's like in between lunch and dinner. Probably gonna be hot, and more importantly, it's probably gonna rain at some point. So I'm not sure I want a full greasy flat top getting hit with a whole bunch of rain out of nowhere.
That's fair.
Now let me ask you. You say barbecue. What does that mean in Norfolk?
For me, it can be a bunch of different things. Like my parents live in North Texas, so when I'm smoking barbecue at home, it's usually brisket, ribs, stuff like that. But we'll definitely do.
But not barbecue.
Pork. Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I do love some pulled pork though. Like I'll grab 4 or 5 pork butts, throw them on the smoker, bring that for a game day. It's good stuff. But I'm much more into the Texas barbecue myself.
Feel that.
And I'm kind of an OP barbecue kind of guy. I don't know if you've had that before. The OP barbecue.
Mm-mm.
Other people's barbecue.
Yeah.
Whatever's being cooked, man. I'm good for it. North Carolina style. Vinegar based Texas stuff. Whatever it is. Absolutely.
Yeah. We joke all the time. I mean, this podcast is 100% ECU podcast, but also about 75% food podcast. So, yeah. And that's the other thing. I know of a lot of people that are traveling to see this game. Look, it's only 2 hours away, right? It's an easy game to get to. That's what we've seen a lot with ECU scheduling over the past couple of years is they want games where our fan base can travel to. Old Dominion, very easy to get to for us. I saw Headlights. You were talking about your pep rally. What are some other places that ECU fans should maybe try out when they're in Norfolk this weekend?
Man, it really depends on what they're in the mood to eat. So give us something that you might be in the mood to eat, and we'll give you a place to go.
I'm a chicken wings guy. What's the best wing spot?
Well, chicken wing place, there's a number of them, but I know the place that I'm going to send you to, just because it's Old Dominion through and through, and it's really close to campus, would be Dirty Buffalo. Dirty
Buffalo. Okay.
And you can go there on game day too, because it's probably about a 15-minute walk. But yeah, they're legit wings and some barbecue in there too.
Yep, and you get the Big Blue Q sauce or the Big Blue's belly rub. I actually have some over there, but it's too far off screen to grab.
Man, I'm getting hungry just on the podcast.
Yeah, but there's definitely some other good spots on Friday. Waterside was completely redone a couple years ago. There's a lot of good spots to get beer, listen to live music there. I think they even put a PBR in there as well. A few places around there. Granby is a good spot. There's a bunch of stuff on Granby downtown. So it's amazing how much Norfolk has changed even since like the time I was in school. You typically didn't want to go downtown a whole lot, but it's pretty awesome down there now with the new Waterside and Granby Street.
And then, what for a lot of ECU fans that are traveling, what would you say is, I don't know, the fan experience like at a game at Old Dominion?
Well, we're in year 15 of football. It's a lot less than a lot of people playing football. So we are still developing our traditions. Some of our fans are still learning how to be like college football fans. You know, a lot of people were, say, Virginia Tech fans or UVA fans before we ever, had a team. So we're still in that process of kind of developing what those different traditions are. But I know that Old Dominion has made a concerted effort in the last couple of years to try to increase the fan experience, both before the game and during the game. I'm really interested in seeing kind of what they do this year to take that next incremental step. I mean, part of it was building the new stadium a few years ago. Now I think they're just kind of getting their sea legs and figuring out how to put it all together. But it gets a little better each and every year. And part of that is just us as a fan base growing with it and becoming, better fans.
For sure. Well, guys, I feel like we've covered the game long enough. We did talk about some food, but I wanted to ask you, I feel like y'all have been to Greenville a couple times. Did y'all ever go to Sup Dogs when you were in town?
I have not, but I think Aaron, you did last time you were down there, right?
Nice.
I was told about it and I was not able to make my way over there, but I've heard that is the spot that we had to get to. We had to boogie out of town. But
I feel like
it sounds like I've missed out on a great opportunity.
It is the spot. If you can get to Sups, that is the spot in Greenville. You got to make the pilgrimage there at least once if you can get to it.
Yeah, I think we came in on game day, and I think what I need to do is the next time is get down there the day before and go there the evening before and kind of make it where it's not a rushed game day experience.
Yeah, I would recommend that. Just getting the full game day experience in Greenville, it's a lot of fun. If you want to come for a game, ODU, ECU, it's not looking like I think 2029 is 2029 is your next opportunity to see the Monarchs in Dowdy-Ficklin. But guys, thanks for coming on. Always appreciate it. I know y'all been friends of the podcast for a while now. I guess since the last time we played. I'll never forget y'all's tight end. Just even in a losing battle, like y'all's tight end back then still gives me nightmares. I can't remember his name, but I think back to
Zach Kuntz. Zach Kuntz.
Was that 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah. That was the last time we played because he got drafted that draft season.
I didn't even realize. I thought he was a little bit before then. I thought he was maybe back in the late 2010s. I will say Old Dominion does hold a special place in my heart. September 29th, 2018, ECU Old Dominion played. It was the night of my wedding. Trust me. I wish I
hold on. I hope you didn't schedule that. That is
I did not.
That's a whole nother podcast that we've got to talk about some other time about fall wedding schedules.
All weddings.
Yeah.
And I've got one unfortunately too. So
we play NC State next year, Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
And his wedding is the day after.
Your wedding.
It's not on Saturday. So.
Okay. All right. You can make that work.
That's fair.
Yeah, I've been told I can't make it work since I'll be in the wedding, but we'll figure.
Yeah,
it out.
But y'all gonna be streaming it in the corner, like.
Oh yeah. But no, trust me, that was not my plan. But ECU won on a walk-off field goal against Old Dominion back then. I think your buddy Nick Clark was on that team. So,
yep.
I'll always remember ECU wasn't good then, but that win over Old Dominion was a little bit sweeter on my wedding night. So thank you for that.
Good. Well,
you're welcome. And I'm hoping that this game turns out different. I still have my scratch pad from the other day when we recorded and Gary asked me or Mike asked me what I thought would happen in this game. You're talking about game-winning field goals. That's my scratch note from the other day. Sanchez from 50, baby.
Look, I called maybe the hottest take I've had all off season that Andrew Conrad was going to hit a 55-yarder this year. But I think with either of these offenses, I don't know how much you're going to see the kickers out there.
Yeah, I think both sides would be just going for it in the middle of the field like that.
Yeah.
But we can hope into the second quarter, something like that. Just let them crank one.
Yeah, why not? Up by 20, I'll take it.
Hey, I don't know about that.
I'm kidding.
Oh, I thought you were talking about us.
I'm kidding. No, we appreciate y'all. And yeah, shout out to the College Huddle for keeping us together and whatnot. But yeah, look forward to talking again soon.
Thanks.
Yep, appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having us on, fellas. Go Monarchs.
Go Monarchs.
That was Gary and Aaron from the ODU Monarchist podcast. They've been friends of the podcast for quite some time now.
Oh, yeah.
Even before like the College Huddle, we were friends before then. So anytime ODU comes up, they're a good follow. Go follow them. A lot of our fan base is in that Tidewater region. So go check them out. Follow them for ODU sports, and ECU and ODU play in others quite a bit in other sports. So yeah, go check them out. And we'll be doing some more collabs with them at some point. All right, Artie, what's next on the docket? All right, I guess gambling corner. Do you want to do walk the plank or gambling corner first?
Let's switch it up. We can do walk the plank. We can do walk the plank first and finish with gambling corner.
Let's do some gambling corner, or let's do walk the plank first and then do gambling corner. Do you have a walk the plank?
I do have a walk the plank. We touched on it earlier. It's very obvious. Already 2 weeks into the season, you can say good night to Florida State. It's over. That's all she wrote. Season's over. Losing to Georgia Tech to me was not bad, simply because we talked about it on this podcast that Georgia Tech was not going to be that bad. They were going to be pretty good and maybe competing for an ACC title. Josh definitely called that game because we had Florida State winning. Josh said not so fast, pulled the lead Corso on us and said Georgia Tech was going to win. And he was right. But losing to Boston College the way you did at home last night in really blowout fashion, like you got blown out at home to Boston College. Boston College, right? I don't care if they have Bill O'Brien as a head coach. I don't care if they're turning over a new leaf. Turning over a new leaf in Boston is like winning 8 games. Like that's like you're losing to Boston College at home. Something is drastically wrong. So RIP to Florida State. Didn't end last season right. They got snubbed, possibly. I don't think so, but a lot of people think they got snubbed at the playoff, and it's just snowballed from there. So it's not looking good for Mike Norvell and his Seminoles. So walk the damn plank.
Artie, have you seen the social media manhunt that's been going on today?
I have not. What's been going on?
Josh, do you know about this?
Might.
So this Florida State fan.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, the one that's supposed to eat doodle? that one?
Guy tweeted out, if Boston College beats Florida State, I will eat a red Solo cup full of dog shit.
Yeah.
And post the video online. And he is gone completely dark, deleted all of his social media. I know there's a guy from Barstool that says he's like talking to him on Snapchat, posting like the screenshots of the messages. I don't know whether to believe it or not. I don't knowing who it's coming from. I don't believe it. But
y'all leave this man alone, bro. Nobody's gonna eat dog shit on live. Eat that man alone. Leave that man alone.
It's the world of social media and views and clicks. I mean,
he said book it.
He did say book it.
Like you can't be that emphatic.
He doubled down in one tweet
and expect us all to forget.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Good.
I saw one this week right before we hopped on. It was a Tennessee fan saying, if we lose to NC State, I'm gonna eat a full Domino's pizza by myself and videotape it, book it. And I was like, I get that. Eat Pizza Hut though. Eat Pizza Hut.
Not the plug for Pizza Hut.
No. I look, Team Boneyard doing something pretty cool tonight with Pizza Hut. What is it? 20% of the orders go to Team Boneyard. And also, did I see something where players were handing out the meals in Greenville? But it's not just in Greenville. I think there's multiple Pizza Huts, like even in like the Charlotte area, that are donating to Team Boneyard.
Yeah, it's all the ones owned by, I believe it's SDS. There's a few in the Charlotte, Gastonia area, and then all across east of 95. But it's not all of them. It's not all of them in Eastern North Carolina, but it is most of them.
Call them, ask, are you donating to Team Boneyard? If they say no, hang up and call up Papa John's like a real American.
I have a quick walk the plank though.
What is it?
The guy on the message board for ECU who
that was gonna be mine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, y'all talk to me. What happened there?
Who decided to have negative words for who he said was the dance team, and then the anonymous folks who joined in on the clamor about, fat shaming and XYZ. And I'll just say this. As someone who spent 4 long years with the dance team and the color guard and the rest of the ECU Marching Pirates, I can guarantee that none of those people could do half the things that they can do. And it's just, it's one thing. Sometimes I can understand when you're a little frustrated with the football team, you might say something about a player, right? There's no reason to ever comment on the color guard or the dance team unless you see them make a huge mistake on the field, and it's just like one of those funny kind of ironic humor things. But like, I don't know.
Like, you know how angry of a person and sad of a person you have to be to just shoot strays at the dance team and the color guard for what? Like, what do you like?
That's where we've come to as ECU fans, that we're no longer just complaining about the product on the field. We're just complaining about things that I'm not going to say they don't matter, because that sounds like I'm saying that the dance team and the color guard and the Marching Pirates don't matter. That's not what I'm saying at all. But like, they have no impact on the game. Like, you go to the game to enjoy all that is the game. That includes the dance team. That includes the Marching Pirates. That includes the color guard. Look, the things that the color guard does are like all of y'all. Like Josh, I'm not very musically inclined. I played trumpet for a year. And I was 22nd chair out of 23 in 6th grade. And that was only because the 23rd chair stopped showing up. So
I will say this about band and color guard, just from my high school experience. When we was out there practicing, they was out there practicing. When we was going home, they were still out there practicing. So that's all I have to say.
Look. People see them play instruments and do their thing, whether it's color guard, dancing. Those are athletes. In my opinion, those are athletes. They work, and the amount of athleticism you have to be able to carry one of those big ass tubas and march in sync and play play music while like being able to breathe and all that. That's an athlete. I don't care what you say. You can't tell me anything different. That's an athlete. Stop complaining. But if that's the thing that Pirate fans are complaining about after a football game where they won 42-3, I will keep wanting to say 48-3. Then that tells me one thing about ECU football, and that we're back because they're not complaining about what's going on the field.
True.
They got to complain about something.
Walk the plank to that person complaining.
Walk the plank to him and the other, I think 3 or 4 people I saw.
I didn't see it on the message. I saw it from message board geniuses, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Right, exactly.
Like, really?
The message board was already locked out before I could get to it, so.
Good looks, I go. Like, I don't know. Like, that's the old man. Yeah, that's the same person.
That's the get off my lawn old man.
That's the same person that gets upset when they play rap music.
Right. They've been retired for way too long. They got to be mad at something. So,
like, if you're complaining about that, I can guarantee one thing: you're not a friend of this Boneyard podcast.
I do have one extra thing that I'm a little frustrated with. ECU, listen here. I get you want player input on certain things, but ECU has a tradition on third down already. Cut the speaker, especially whenever you barely censor the song to the point where there's people asking from watching it on ESPN if they're using slurs during the song. You cut it. Let the band do what the band has always done, and let the student section and the fans throw up the no quarter. Like, what is going on? Just irking my nerves on that one.
See, I don't think I even caught that was happening on Saturday. I think like I didn't notice it that much, but I also was thinking, okay, well, we're up 35 points right now. Like, I'm not thinking about what we're doing, but no, yeah, we don't need to be playing. I get playing the foghorn that they play, or it used to be a bell, but I get that, but that's all we need. Let the crowd do its thing.
Yes, I want to throw this up.
We lost you, Josh.
Josh,
you got me?
Yeah,
we got you now.
I don't want to hear the same clip over and over and over again of the same song. I want to be able to throw these up and smash my arms together while the band just whacks at all the drums.
I legitimately thought I was going to break my arms against Carolina back in 2014.
Exactly. You're stealing it. They're stealing it from us. They're stealing that joy from us.
Back in school, I would go home and I would have bruises on my arms from how hard I banged those things. Yeah. Other than that Josh, that was going to be my walk the plank though. So I'm gonna say it. I don't have any others other than I don't have any. I don't have any.
Jared is not that angry this week. You're too tired to be angry. That's what it is. You're just tired. You're just tired.
Look, I had a 4-day weekend. I saw my team beat up on an opponent that they should beat up on. That's a game that in the past ECU would have kept close, found a way to keep it close.
For no reason. Just would have kept it close for no reason. None whatsoever.
They could have been playing 3 years ago, they could have been playing the North Carolina School for the Blind and Deaf, and the game would have been close. Like, for what?
Not the Helen Keller mascots. Well, no.
All right. Gambling corner.
Let's do it.
Josh will bring you back in. All right. Gambling corner. Take us through it, Josh. Lots of good games on the docket this weekend.
All right. So for this season, we're going to go with 2 upcoming opponents, 1 regional/national game, and the ECU game. So this week we have 4 games on the slate. The rest of the season, we're going to keep it at about 4 games on the slate. Okay.
Like it.
First game, App State visits Clemson. Clemson is a 17.5 point favorite right now, and the over/under is 52.5. Jared, what are you doing here?
Look, I get it was the Georgia defense, but Clemson, that offense looks rough. The defense is good. What was that, Artie?
So they look a little fraudulent.
Yeah. App State, I like their offense. I do think App State covers the 17.5. I'm not going to take them outright. I just don't. That's a lot. I don't know. I see a world where App State wins, and my heart tells me App State wins. Going into Clemson, going into Death Valley, that's tough for just about anyone. I think App State covers. With how bad Clemson's offense is, their defense is still pretty good. I know people will say, "Oh, well, they gave up 34 to Georgia."
It was basically in the second half, though.
Yeah, it was all in the second half, and really, it was just a lot of that was Carson Beck doing Carson Beck. Carson Beck, in my opinion, is going to be quite possibly one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in quite some time.
He's going to be the first QB off the board.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So,
in my opinion, he's a top 5 pick. So, yeah, I think App State. I'm going to take App State to cover. I'm not gonna take a winner outright, and I'm going to take the under.
Okay.
Also, real quick, one thing to watch out for with the new clock rules in college football, I've been noticing a lot of unders hitting lately. And here in the start of the season, a lot of unders are hitting. I'm just going to throw that caveat out there. I think that's a lot to do with how the clock runs now in college football.
I would agree that App State covers. Now, I can still see Clemson win this game by 17, but I don't think they get over 17.5. So I think App State covers. I also agree with the under, just because of the defense of Clemson and the offense of Clemson not being that great. So I'm definitely going to take the under on this. Clemson wins outright. I'm going to take Clemson outright. I just don't think that they're there yet to that they are a program losing at home to App State. I don't think that's where they are just yet. They might be there, and I could be wrong. But I don't.
Michigan there in 2007?
Yeah, but 2007 Michigan was, I don't want to talk about that. So I don't look. I mean, App State's a demon slayer, right? They went to Texas A&M a couple years ago and beat Texas A&M. That wasn't a good Texas A&M team, but they still went to College Station and won that game. I don't think Clemson is there yet. I don't. App State can come prove me wrong on Saturday, but I don't think Clemson is that program yet. Not in Death Valley. I got Clemson winning outright.
And I'm going to take the same 3 picks, Clemson to win, App State to cover, and the under. All right. Next game is Liberty at New Mexico. Liberty is a 22.5 point road favorite. And the over-under is 56.5. Artie, how are you feeling on this one?
New Mexico is pretty boo-boo. So I'm going to have – Liberty covers this. I think they do. I think they win probably by like 24 points. Over-under at 56.5. I'm going to take – man, I want to take the over, but I just don't think New Mexico is going to score that many points. I'm actually going to take the under. Liberty covers. I'm taking the under. And then obviously give you Liberty outright. Just because I think New Mexico is just that bad.
I could see a scenario. Jared, how you feeling on this one?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm chalking it up to like week one, like trouble. Granted, Liberty ended up beating Campbell by 17 points, 41-24. This Liberty team, though, it didn't seem like last year when they played, which they played the easiest schedule in college football. When they played inferior opponents, they were throttled down on a lot of them and foot on your throat. It didn't seem like that. They struggled early on. It wasn't until late in the third quarter that they kind of really pulled away. 22.5 on the road. To me, that's tough. But New Mexico is some cheeks. I'm gonna say I really want to say New Mexico covers this. My heart tells me New Mexico covers, but my head's telling me Liberty. So I'm gonna take Liberty, and I'm also gonna take the under.
Yeah, on this one, I'm going to have to go Liberty to win outright, Liberty to cover. And I'm taking the over. I think that Liberty, that first game, chalking it up. But then this game right here, they're just gonna they're gonna find their rhythm, and it's just gonna be one of those kind of games. Especially with them knowing that they have some pretty deep opponents coming up. That I think they need to. They're gonna want to show themselves at least.
I can see that. Yeah, it could be the over based solely on Liberty. To be honest with you.
Yeah. All right, the national/regional game of the week. To me, it's a national game. To others, it's just regional. Tennessee against NC State in the Duke's Mayo Classic.
Excited to watch this one.
NC State is a 7.5-point underdog in their home state, and the over-under is 60.5. Jared, how are you feeling on this one?
I see a lot of NC State fans talking about, hey, like we ended up winning by 17 points against Western Carolina. NC State basically had the same game against Western Carolina that Liberty had against Campbell, and they are a preseason top 25 team. I don't have them in my top 25 anymore after watching what went down on Thursday night. And that's not to say that they can't get back there, and that's may include a little bit of my bias, but before the Western Carolina game, I believe they were plus 4.5. So Vegas is like, okay, yeah, you're still underdogs, but they're not moving the spread too much. They're still pretty close. I'm gonna say another thing about NC State, they haven't won in Bank of America Stadium, I believe, since and somebody can fact check this. It's like 2006, 2008, something like that. They haven't won in Bank of America Stadium. Now, and they've played quite a bit. They also don't have the greatest record playing against like some of the top quarterback recruits at times. I think that NC State keeps it close. I'm going to take NC State to cover. I think Tennessee wins outright. I think it's going to be a close game. This is going to be an instant classic in Charlotte this weekend. And you know that for me to say that that's hard. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm going to take the under here. Unless Grayson McCall and the NC State offense has figured something out in the last week. They just did not look that great to start the game last week.
So you said Tennessee to win and NC State to cover?
Yep.
All right. Artie.
I think I actually agree with that. Everything in my body is screaming a 34-27 Tennessee victory. That's just what this feels like this game is going to be. So I think Tennessee's going to win, but I know NC State's going to play a whole lot better than they did week 1 against Western Carolina. I think it's going to be a very, very good game. So give me State to cover, give me Tennessee to win, but I'm taking the over by a point.
All right. I'm going to go Tennessee to win, Tennessee to cover, and the under. I think that Tennessee's defense is going to be able to stop NC State's offense. Maybe not easily, but enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Tennessee's offense is going to be able to figure out a couple of things. Because if Western Carolina can figure something out for as long as they did, I think Tennessee can cook something up off of that film. So I do think that Tennessee ends up covering that 7.5 points. Who knows?
I'll say this: NC State made a lot of errors in that game, especially early on. It did like after watching ECU's game and watching that NC State game, they felt similar. The only difference was when ECU made their errors, their defense held strong to fix those errors or to remedy those errors. It'll be interesting. The football purist in me wants to see like a tough game, but like I said, I'm going with my heart on this one. If I were to go with my head, Josh, I'd probably be leaning closer to you. I've gone with my head everywhere else. I'm going with my heart on that one.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify on Jared's statement earlier, NC State's record. So NC State lost their first 3 games at Bank of America Stadium, won their next 3 games at Bank of America Stadium, and are currently on a 3-game losing streak. So out of 9 games, they've had 3 3-game streaks, 3 loss, 3 win, 3 loss. Is this just the tide turning back to the wins? Who knows?
State's not winning this game.
3-6 overall record at the bank, though. It's not too good.
State is not winning this game.
Hey, you never know.
State is not winning. State is not winning this game.
You better hope State don't win this game because they're gonna be in our mentions hard.
That's fine. I enjoy the engagement.
State will be engaging with us.
They already are. They engage with us, and they say we're little brother. They say that we think about them in our sleep. No, I don't think about y'all at all, except for when you're on our podcast docket. I don't give a damn about you. Okay, so fuck State.
A little bit. Hate is love, Jerry.
All right. Last game is the ECU at Old Dominion game. Had to triple check the numbers, make sure they didn't move again. So here are the numbers as of this time right now.
As of recording at 10:33 p.m. Eastern time on September 3rd. Look, this line has been one of the fastest moving lines I've seen in a long time.
Money talks.
ECU started out as 2.5 point road dogs. That has since moved in ECU's favor to be a 2.5 point favorite. That's a 5-point swing in just about 48 hours.
Yep.
And if you are not new to betting and you've seen this, like, to me, that gives me some concern that the spread has moved so far. But it's going to be interesting how this shakes out.
Hardy, so the full slate of pick is ECU 2.5-point favorite on the road, and the over-under is 55.5. Now, always keep in mind that we consider a home team to get 3 points on the line. So it's anywhere from 2.5 to 5.5 in reality. But what say you?
God Almighty, this is a hard game to pick. This is a pick'em game. ECU covers. I do think ECU is going to cover in this game. Over or under, was it 55.5 we got?
Yes, sir.
Both these defenses are pretty good. I just don't know if I can take the over in this game. I don't think it's going to be that kind of – and even with the offenses moving the way they move, I don't know if I can confidently take the over. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to say ECU covers, and obviously ECU outright victory. But this will be a close game. Heading into
Artie, before locking it in, would you like to know your over/under statistics on the season?
They're bad. I know they're awful.
They aren't bad. I mean, we're all pretty bad with over/under, but this year. So you picked 4 overs so far this season. Or hold on, let's see. You picked 6 overs so far this season. And on those, you've been correct once. And on your unders,
I think the under
you've been correct twice.
I took the under in this game. I mean, look, it's been – and look, the over-under's been hard for me. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been hard for me.
It's been hard for all of us.
So I'm taking the under, though. I have faith in these defenses, to be honest with you, both these defenses. I don't think this gets over 55.5.
All right.
So if it says true, that means you took the over? What?
If it says true, that means that what you picked did hit.
Gotcha. I'm just trying to figure out how to read this. Damn, Artie's 11-2 on picking the outright.
Outright. Yeah, look, I could pick the winner of the game. I just don't know what the score going to be.
Hey, honestly, that's not bad. I'm 10-3. Me and Josh are right there on the spread. Josh has me by a game, but okay. I see
we're also in the thick of it. We all still competing with each other. So
I see what we're doing here. All right, Artie. So what's your final pick? ECU to cover, ECU outright, and
ECU cover, ECU outright under.
All righty, locked in. Jared.
I think ECU wins this game. And therefore, I'm going to take them to cover. I feel like there's some momentum heading in ECU's direction. I feel like it was a kick in the dick from that loss to South Carolina for Old Dominion. Look, Old Dominion's a good team. This is it's not going to be a cakewalk. Like I think some fans were thinking it might be in the off season, right? Like this is going to be a knockout, drag down fight. I think that there may be a little more will there on ECU. I feel like they're playing a little more freely. I'm going to go ECU to win, cover. and I so badly want to take the over here.
It's just 55.5.
See, that's the thing. I feel like
very doable.
I feel like this is going to be a game, especially given the tempo for both offenses, where there can be points scored. My only concern is that one offense pops off and then the other defense is as advertised and shuts the other one down. So, and then it turns into like a 10-point game and it doesn't hit the over. Like in my mind, I'm seeing a game like a 35-28 game, something like that. That's just kind of in my head what I see. This offense is high powered, but this defense is good. This is tough. I'm gonna say ECU wins. I'm gonna take the over.
All right, locked in. And my pick for this game is going to be, I'm going to go with my heart on this one and not on my statistical thoughts. I'm going to go ECU to win. I'm going to go ECU to cover. And I'm going to go. Let me triple check. Going to go under. Gonna go under. ECU to win, ECU to cover, and the under.
Josh and I have the same picks.
Yeah. There for a long time, I thought ECU was going to hit the over on Saturday. And had they kept the ones in, I think they would have. I mean, also, anybody that had the over and had ECU marching downfield with like 3 minutes left, like, come on, just put it in the end zone. Just do it one time.
Yes.
With London Montgomery, the true freshman, 69 yards. I mean, total 67 yards on 14 attempts, basically in the final 10 minutes.
Red shirt.
What, is he a red shirt? I thought he was
transfer from Penn State.
Damn. We got so many transfers; it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I honestly, I forgot he was on the team.
Yeah, like
Penn State. Like,
I forgot he was on the team.
Didn't even know.
Like you talk so much about Casey Kelly, and I mean, then you have Rosario Riles do what he did. I mean, also Kerry King, that he caught like a 55-yard touchdown pass that got called back.
Beautiful video, man. Beautiful video.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Them punt returns and kick returns have me feeling some type of way though. We might get us one this year.
Can I just say I don't like the idea of. I really like Winston Wright on kick returns. If you trust him there, I don't know why you don't trust him on punt returns. To me, also I don't want to risk JVS Bond again. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. And last thing, punters should not wear the number 1. Luke Larson wearing number 1 is absolutely wild.
Luke Larson is the oldest man on that team by far. He can wear whatever the hell he wants. You can't tell Granddad no.
I looked. I had to do it. I had to do almost a triple take when I saw that he was wearing number 1 instead of number 12.
Who's gonna tell Luke Larson he can't wear number 1?
All right. Good episode, boys. with that, make sure you subscribe to the Boneyard Podcast on YouTube at Boneyard Podcast. Follow us on social media. Josh has been clipping it up like a fiend lately, so appreciate Josh.
Yes.
Yeah, follow us on social media. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever. 5-star review. If you don't already, what can they do?
Down plank.
Walk your ass on down the plank. Pirates were often known to be mercenaries and work for tyrants. This time, we're going to spit in the face of the tyrants and down with the Monarchs. Let's get on out of here, Artie.
Pirates by 50. You know what it is, Pirate Nation. Wash your hands, wash your butts. Until next time, we'll be talking about another ECU victory. Deuce.
Go damn Pirates.